Chair, thank you so much. My apologies. It was just we had a motion in the Shannon, so apologies. I just had to step away through some part of this. But if I might, I may pose a number of questions, and just to welcome Minister Norma Foley and Minister Josepha Madigan with us here today. It is wonderful to hear about the extra support's been put in place, particularly the class, and a great acronym as well. But great to see that support being put in place. You know, that's 50 million, I think, for additional teaching supports. And if I might ask, whichever, maybe Minister Foley or Minister Madigan, just in apologies, you may have replied to some of this already, but just in relation to those supports, I think you mentioned, Minister, it's dependent on the size of the school. I suppose coming from a rural area, some of our primary schools would be, you know, smaller. We would have some large schools as well, but I suppose just to be conscious that the supports will be evenly distributed as well. I know taking into account the size of the school and numbers in the school, but also the fact that we would like to reach every school, and some of our more rural schools, I suppose, as well as in your own constituency, would be on the smaller side as well. Some of the other questions, if I may pose as well, and thank you, Chair, for your latitude here and for the time, was just in relation to the hot school meals programme. I know both Deputy Farrell, our Chair here, and Deputy Keogh both raised this. And you may have answered it as well, Minister Foley, at a later stage, but could I just clarify, is there a step within the Department of Education in terms of a review and approving certain schools? I suppose I'm looking at this specifically around the DESH area, because I know, say, for DESH level band 1, we can access, you know, schools can access hot school meals, but that in order to increase the numbers of DESH schools, that has to be reviewed, I believe, again. I suppose I'm just asking in relation to that. I know there's also a more general policy that we're looking at for schools in general, but I suppose I would be very interested in how we will be looking at allocating schools in need right now, because in the last year to 2 years, there are a lot of schools in need, and particularly where we have primary schools which have already DESH band 1 allocation, that we would have follow-on supports at post-primary level as well. Again, if I might just mention and thank the Minister as well for her assistance, I suppose, for additional accommodation in my own local area. I know that we have St. Teresa Special School has been approved for additional accommodation, and only, if I may, I don't know if we may still have Mr. Huber-Loftus with us, but I suppose if I might ask in relation to capital infrastructure, just if there was a timeline of when that would be set up. I understand that we have taken measures to accelerate as much as possible, and I may also just pose a question in relation to capital infrastructure again, in relation to Scull and Creanefa. I know that this is a project, we've spoken on this many times, a school that's been waiting, you know, I know 25 years, a long time, still at stage 2B, and hopefully there's been a lot of work, I know, with the planning team, with the department, with the school itself, on moving this to, I suppose, beyond stage 2B. In other words, that a planning, an application would be submitted for planning to the local authority, to Galway County Council. I suppose if I might ask Mr. Loftus, or if someone may be able to give an update, or if a written update could be provided, I'd really appreciate that. Again, just to thank you, Minister, for what you have achieved, I know in the last year, and Minister Madigan as well, for children with special needs and for inclusion. Minister, I also sit on the Mental Health Subcommittee, and I know you've mentioned there as well mental health supports for children in primary and post-primary schools. I suppose you've mentioned Minister Mary Butler, who is crucial to this as the Minister, I know, overlooking with mental health supports. I just wonder as well whether Minister Frank Feehan, in terms of public health and the Healthy Counties initiative that's been rolled out through the local authorities, might also be something to support an integrated sort of rollout with our schools and our local communities to really have as much impact as possible. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Senator. Ministers?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Senator. Just to acknowledge and appreciate your remarks in relation to class, and I would say to you, Senator, I come from a rural constituency myself. I am an enormous fan of the rural schools, the small rural schools, as I am indeed of all the schools, but I do appreciate the widest experience of education, and that's in the smaller schools and indeed in the greater schools. And we were very, very clear in the manner in which we have laid out the supports for the schools, that it would be weighted in terms of, certainly the size of the school, but obviously, like, the resource that would be required in a smaller school would be less than the resource that was needed at in a larger school. But notwithstanding that, I absolutely want to acknowledge that those resources are being made available. And indeed, for example, other initiatives like BLAST, bringing live arts into the schools and all of that's available to all schools, irrespective of size as well. And I think that also, fits in very nicely, maybe even to the class supports as well, from the COVID learning supports point of view, because the enormous issue for us is that, we're very keen with this programme that there would be an emphasis on teaching and learning from an academic point of view, but there would also be the widest experience of, socialisation, integration, resilience, team building and all of that. So that's why we are looking at also making available within the schools things like sport or creativity or drama or poetry or whatever it might be. And each school has the autonomy to identify it for themselves. Just to say in terms of the DESH model, as you raised it, as you were aware, that is being reviewed, and it is being reviewed with a view to developing a new statistics-based model, really, that will identify schools that are most in need. And the detailed quality analysis has been completed by the DESH technical group, and the department is now engaging, with the education partners. So the work is ongoing. It needs to transact, but it is ongoing. And just in terms of the hot school meals, just to say that that is within the remit of social protection and Minister Humphreys, and I want to acknowledge the very positive manner in which Minister Humphreys does engage with the Department of Education in relation to that, and I will continue to engage with her going forward. And indeed, just in terms of the cross-departmental approach that we take to a number of different issues, I want to acknowledge, as I said, Minister Butler, Minister Fian. I'm very, very happy to work in the widest possible remit that will advantage the schools, if you like. So I have an openness to that, absolutely. And just to say, in terms of the specific projects that you have raised, I don't have that information to hand presently, but I will discuss with Mr. Loftus, and we will ensure that you get a written reply on each of the two that you have raised. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Minister.
Foley. Minister Madigan, would you have any final remarks?
I suppose just very briefly in relation to the class COVID scheme, it will be of huge assistance to children with additional needs, and as Minister Foley said, it will help in terms of well-being, and just to say thank you for your acknowledgement of that, and also for the additional accommodation scheme for the school in your own constituency, St.
Thank you.
I wish them the best of luck with that.
Thank you so much, Minister. It's been really crucial, and particularly, it is, as you would know yourself, I mean, we've such a low number, is it 150 special schools in the country, so it is so crucial that we're supporting those schools. So, Minister, thank you for all your efforts in that area as well. And I know that they'll be delighted, I know some of the schools as well, just in relation to the policies you're bringing forward on the reduced school days. So in other words, that will be managed in a better way and better communication, I think, with families as well. So, Gar Míle Maith.
Thanks very much.